A servile, unanimous media provides the perfect environment for an opportunist politician. And with the wall-to-wall insistence that a nation mourns, the way lay open for those who love nothing better than giving the impression that they speak for us all. Tony Blair appears to know this by instinct. By annexing that tabloid phrase, the people's princess, from Julie Burchill, he contrived, at least by association, to give the impression that he was the people's prime minister. At least he did it with some panache.
She was the people's princess. And that's how she will stay, how she will remain.
Blair had a very good week, coming impartially to the aid of both the Windsor and the Spencer dynasties, while baptizing his own new ministry from the pulpit of Westminster Abbey, in a reading from St. Paul to the Corinthians.
When I was a child, I spake as a child, I understood as a child.
The new, updated, user-friendly version that substitutes the word love for the word charity. Every celebrity these days needs a charity, preferably one with a signature illness attached. Perhaps you remember Camilla Parker Bowles being compelled to cancel the osteoporosis ball during the frenzy of Diana Week. Diana's great achievement was to make the whole celebrity charity biz seem genuine. And perhaps that's why so many people, ironically in view of the fact that money is what charity most needs, are so shy and so reticent about appearing to raise anything so vulgar as money in her name.
As Diana was so charitable in her life, I thought it was sort of appropriate while I'm standing here I can make a little blanket for baby.
Charity as a concept combines the old idea of the fairy godmother and the deserving poor with two contrasting modern ideas. The first being compassion, and the second, rather less compassionate, being the notion that voluntary and not government or taxpayer effort should support the needy. A lot of moral and ethical confusion here, to say the least. After a divorce settlement that would have looked breathtaking, even in Beverly Hills, the fairy tale princess left exactly nothing to charity in her will, preferring to redistribute a fortune among the country's 2 or 3 wealthiest families. The loyalty of those who visit her shrine was not mirrored by Diana, whose brother revealed that her last wish was to cease living in Britain at all.
She talked endlessly of getting away from England, mainly because of the treatment that she received at the hands of the newspapers.
My old friend, Anthony Holden, became a convinced Republican as a result of his brilliant career as a royal biographer, and actually knew the princess. He still believes that her fans were Democrats at heart. Where would we be now if traffic or alcohol conditions had been better in Paris on the last day of August?
I'm glad we're not getting into conspiracy theories about that accident in the tunnel. Had the princess lived, I think she would have done Britain proud on the world stage, leaving the Windsors looking like a bit of a rump, a bit of a relic of a post-imperial Britain that does not exist anymore.
And this in spite of the fact that she would have been the consort of the son of a rather dubious Egyptian grocer?
There was a lot of xenophobia in the courage of that relationship. Perhaps a hint of it in your question. There was not going to be a Faid dynasty. Dodi was a summer fling, and I hope she had a great fling. He didn't have enough brains for Diana. He had enough money to give her a good time, not a good enough security system to keep her alive, unfortunately.
Now we're coming to the morning of her death,
right.
And you watched the crowd build up outside Buckingham Palace.
By the Sunday lunchtime, what was fascinating to me was if you got there, you looked around, everywhere there were flags, 360 degrees at half-mast, except on the palace. And I was broadcasting to America and attempting to explain that the flag never flies when the monarch's not there, the flag never flies at half-mast, etc. But I thought on this occasion an exception might be made to this crusty old cobwebbed crap. And people listening behind me started saying, yes, Mr. Holden, dead right, you're right on, you're a man of the people, say that on the BBC. And it became a kind of national movement, and by the Thursday there was a flag on that flagpole.
So you're, in part, the author of the Show Us You Care, Ma'am movement.
Certainly I was. The Express did do a story in slight fear and trembling, thinking I was exaggerating a bit, saying public getting angry with the Queen. Unless something happens, the Queen will be booed on Saturday at the funeral. And if Prince Charles strays more than 10 yards from his children, who of course are intacti, he will get rotten tomatoes thrown at him.
I don't think they're the most cold people on this earth.
And if I could actually see them and speak to them, I would really tell them what I thought. In fact, I would probably be passed away in the tower forever.
One aspect of the Windsors' absence from the national life that week, which got people so worked up, was the fact that they don't show their emotion in public, whatever they're feeling in private. A couple of months later, we saw them all blubbing their eyes out over a hulk of metal, when Britannia was decommissioned in a way that they hadn't over the princess that they were claiming in death was the best thing about the monarchy.
But if you want a republic of citizens and not subjects, isn't it a strange baptism to have a week in which the moral tutors of the nation are Mohammed Al-Fayed and Earl Spencer?
Spencer's speech in the Abbey, I would go so far as to say one of the great political speeches of the 20th century. At that moment, he symbolised what that crowd had been feeling all week outside the palace. The extraordinarily symbolic thing of the applause outside the Abbey, unlike the Elton John song, creeping inside the Abbey, creeping down the sides, moving to the middle, to the point where even poor William and Harry, too young to understand what was happening, grief-stricken, of course, applauded because they thought they ought to, while their father and grandparents sat fixedly ahead. And that was the moment the Queen was looking the end of the monarchy slap bang in the face. People have said to me, if that week had happened under the dying days of the John Major government, we would not have a monarchy anymore. But it was Blair to the rescue. She will do whatever Blair tells her to. That's already become quite clear. If Blair had not ridden to the monarchy's rescue, Earl Spencer would by now be the first president of the British Republic.
1 year on, and some people can't seem to let go. Efforts to create an apt or fitting memorial seem to strain for effect, and yet only achieve the pathetic or grotesque. Some say we should ruin Kensington Gardens, an enclave for generations of London children. Others favour a £5 coin, with the Queen on one side and the Princess on the other. Her Majesty's expression in this case is likely to be somewhat fixed. She never thought they were two sides of the same coin. Talk about being two-faced.
This is the last part of the route to Althorp, through villages in Northamptonshire where Diana is still remembered as a young girl who came home for the holidays. Now she's being welcomed back for the last time.
Even though she had preferred bright lights and big cities, the rural setting of Althorp, sometimes pronounced Althorp by the toffs, was thought most appropriate for Diana's last resting place. Ironically, her brother denied her the use of the estate when she still needed a refuge. Here, in this abruptly consecrated, thatch-infested hamlet, I passed an agreeable morning with an unlikely skeptic, Captain James Bellamy, late of the 8th Hussars. Tell me as a local how you recall the week that was.
We, in fact, were totally and utterly overrun. I couldn't get out of my house. There were hundreds, thousands probably, of media here. Really, they were terribly intrusive. They were searching for that which did not exist.
Here in Northamptonshire is her place, and we're here to welcome her home today.
Lady Diana didn't come here very often. She was only here as a girl, and so we saw very little of her, and you can't spin news out of nothing.
And you've had people coming straight from the airport to Althorp?
Yes, on Sunday evening, for instance, there were some Americans who'd hired a taxi who'd come out and were just photographing the gates. I mean, it seems pretty mindless, but I suppose it gives you a sense of having been there, you know. We do encounter occasional dramatic emotionalism there. We have a girl who's been here with flowers every day since the 1st of September 1997 and still comes. It is upsetting because I just feel that people have got it wrong.
Cast the runes, if you will, for the future of Althorp.
We hope it's not going to change us immeasurably because we've been here for a long time, but the facts are that Lord Spencer's decided to sell 150,000 or thereabouts tickets for visiting Althorp. This means that we're going to have something of the order of 800 to 1,000 cars coming during the day, and of course over lunchtime I think there'll be a sort of crash point about it. I would think that the interest in Princess Diana is likely to continue at a fairly high level for certainly a large part of this generation. But I think, like all things which haven't got, if you like, a particular spiritual significance, I think that it will gradually fade and the village will survive.
Althorp was in the process of being engulfed by pop modernity. The croonings of Sir Cliff and Chris de Burgh transforming it from a slumbering bucolic idyll into the raucous equivalent of a Woodstock for suburbanites. or a Graceland shrine perhaps, with a suggestion of a pilgrimage thrown in. Earl Spencer had just claimed loudly and indignantly that he would never make money from his sister's death. He didn't seem intent on losing any either.
Just come through Harlesden, it's taken 3/4 of an hour to do just under 2 miles, which is pretty pathetic.
If it keeps going, we'll just have to open the champagne, drink it in the car.
We'll have to walk 3 miles to get out of our taxi. 3 miles
and walk.
We'll
have to stop in a pub.
The concert is controversial enough, but it only represents the beginning of what's becoming a Diana commemorative season. That'll run from now through the anniversary of her death at the end of August.
She was young, she was blonde, she was funny and photogenic, she was attractive to adults and loved by children, and she had that energy on behalf of others that you read about much more often than you meet in real life. The wasteful and thoughtless cruelty of landmines, for instance, was more than she could bear. Yet when Jodie Williams received the Nobel Prize for Peace for her years of effort in the cause of banning landmines, she remained in the wasteland of anonymity in which non-celebrities belong. Nobody knows who Jodie Williams is. But is there anybody who does not know that Diana, Princess of Wales, once spent a few days in Bosnia and Angola? The notion of an icon or a role model is an essentially futile one, because it holds up an ideal that by definition is unattainable. As a result, we encourage the worship of a mere human being, and the hysteria that's inseparable from it. The word fan, we do well to remember, derives from fanatic. Can it be that we actually prefer the imitation to the authentic, the dream to the responsibility of a conscious life? Golden girls and boys all must, as chimney sweepers, come to dust. The golden princess has gone and she's not coming back. Emotional surrogates like Louise Woodward turn out to be unsatisfying. And golden boy Prince William may grow stale as his father has in the gloomy wait for the Windsor succession. Of course, we do have an alternative. It's summed up in the injunction, get a life.
So, very interesting take on Diana, Princess of Wales. Now, keep it with 3 this Friday night as we've something completely different after the break. It's our gripping Friday night movie. Adam Brody and Meg Ryan star in The Land of Women after the break.